Hi, this is Ben with DreamFactory, and in this quick screencast, I'll be introducing DreamFactory Enterprise. So DreamFactory Enterprise is a platform for managing all of your DreamFactory instances across your development lifecycle, meaning development, test, and production. So DreamFactory Enterprise is a software install. It's a Linux install, and you go and get it, put it on your Linux server, and it provides a whole bunch of features that you manage with an enterprise console, which I'll show in a quick demo. So the key features at a high level are the following. DreamFactory Enterprise provides multi-tenancy, which means basically that you can have many DreamFactory instances running on shared clusters, basically web app and database servers. The second thing is admin management, so the ability to manage the owners of each instance as well as the super administrators that are logged into the DreamFactory Enterprise system. So all of those user management capabilities are built into the platform. There is usage reporting, so you can optionally install the Elk stack. Elk is Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. So the Elk stack provides auditing capabilities, all of the logging that you would typically need to know about for all of your API calls, as well as Kibana, which is a really nice front end for looking at your reports and dashboards of all of the API calls flowing through the system. Lastly, the system provides API limits, and this is really nice for imposing restrictions on how many API calls can go through each instance, or for a given end user, or for all end users, the entire cluster. There are various ways to set it up. So the key idea is that the enterprise product is used to manage all of your DreamFactory instances that run on the right. So all of this will be a lot more clear, hopefully, in the quick demo, which I'll get into now. So I want to show a couple of things. The first thing is what we call the dashboard. So the dashboard is the environment where your development team can go in and create as many instances as he or she needs for development purposes, for testing purposes, and ultimately you use this for deploying to production. So in this quick screen grab here, what I'm showing is 3 different instances that I've created. To create a new instance, you simply go in and name it and click to create, and that will spawn a new instance. When we say instance, we basically mean one of these. So this is, if you're familiar with the open source product, you're quite familiar with this user interface. This is a particular instance. This is the DreamFactory admin console, where I have apps and I have all of my APIs, my schema, my data, API docs, all of that good stuff. This is a particular instance, and here I just click here to launch that instance, or to create a new one, or to delete an instance, or to export an instance, or to import. The export import is important because this is a mechanism by which you can migrate your applications between clusters, say between development clusters and a test cluster. You've built all of the apps and now you want to move them. You can import and export quite easily. You can also do all of this from the command line. So this is one way to do it, but when you're putting in operational controls and you're doing migrations of applications through your development process, you typically often will do that with command line commands. So the next thing is the real operational parts of the software. So this is where you log in as a super administrator and you set up all of your instances. You can namespace and map all of the servers that you have, the clusters that you want to set up, which is just a set of servers. You can view the instances, see how many instances are out there, what clusters they're running on, manage all of the users, set limits, and run your reports. So quickly we'll show this and very high level how it works. So the first thing is when you log into the product, there's a home tab, quick video, resources you can use to learn more about the product, support options, and licensing statistics about how many apps and servers and clusters and so forth they have running. So a server is really simple. You have web servers, app servers, database servers. You would set those servers up in whatever environment that you want. So if you go to Amazon Web Services, let's say, or you're running on premises in a data center, set up your servers, and then you basically enter the server name, the host, and select the type of server. And this provides a manifest by which you can define what we call a cluster. So a cluster is a set of servers. It's a web server, app server, database server. Those are the 3 pieces of information that the system needs in order to provision the instances themselves. So for example, this particular cluster is called cluster-fabric. It has a DNS subdomain and a web server, database server, and app server, which we named in the servers tab. So pretty straightforward. With this information, the system can then provision instances. And so when we went back here and you saw the instance provisioning, when I go to create an instance, that is programmatically creating that instance on one of these clusters, in this case cluster fabric that we set up. So you can have as many clusters as you want. A cluster is a set of servers, and you can have as many instances as you want running on a particular cluster. So we call this capability multi-tenancy, shared infrastructure. You can, of course, create instances. If you don't use this interface, you can create instances and manage, create, read, update, delete instances as well from the command line. So that's also available. The next thing I'll show really quickly is limits. The idea of limits is quite simple. You can impose restrictions that the open source product, each of these instances here, will honor when API calls flow through the system. So an example really quickly of a limit would be, give it a name and then select what type of limit it will be. It could be a cluster, instance, or user limit. If you select, for example, instance, you just select the cluster that you want, and then the particular instance. You could say all instances, which would apply to every instance in that cluster, or a particular one, and then you select a period. For example, if I want 10,000 API calls per minute, no more than that, I would select that, make it active, create it. So again, you can set these limits at the cluster level, the instance level, or the user level for individual users, or for all users in an instance. And a user is really an end user. That user could be hitting the API from a mobile device, from Internet of Things. It could be sensors. It could be really anything that's hitting the API. Now, the last part I'll quickly touch on is reports. So again, you can optionally install the Elk stack, and you can launch it here. What we've done is provided, when you launch it, you go into the Kibana environment, and you can set up as many dashboards, visualizations as you want. You can configure them in any way that you want. All with Kibana. We provide a bunch of documentation on how to do that. So it's very flexible, very powerful, and you can do anything from time series across all of your clusters, for example, for the last week, all the API calls, and then you can drill down really at any level of aggregation. So look at API calls for all instances, the top 10 applications, for example, across every instance in cluster 1. And you can continue to obviously create as many of these as you want. So that is a quick rundown of the product in just a few minutes. I do want to point out we have a whole bunch of documentation resources and other items that will be useful for learning more about DreamFactory and DreamFactory Enterprise. So go to dreamfactory.com/resources. The download information for the products is here. Online documentation links, PDF guides, videos, developer forum, and a bunch of example apps are all there. And the next thing you should know before concluding is that it's very easy to try out DreamFactory Enterprise. So you can go to dreamfactory.com to this URL, how to install DreamFactory Enterprise. Just go to our website. And if you would like a deeper dive into the product, we would be happy to set up a demo anytime. dsbsales@dreamfactory.com, shoot them an email, and we'll show it to you. Hopefully that was helpful, and thanks for your time.